Thriller, mystery, and horror books coming out in March. If you don't know me, I'm Carrie, and I read a book a day to give you the best thriller, mystery, and horror book recommendations. So if you're into that, make sure to give me a follow. We have one thriller release on March 1st, and that is I Came Back for You by Kate White. This follows a mother named Bree, and 10 years ago, her daughter Melanie was unalived. And now in present day, Melanie's convicted unaliver on his deathbed admits to unaliving 4 girls, but not Melanie, forcing Bree to confront that her daughter's unaliver may still be at large. We have 7 releases on March 3rd, starting with the horror book Turn Off the Light by Jackie Walters, which follows 2 different women named Edith and Claire living centuries apart that are bound together by the same dark secret within the same home. When I Was Death by Alexis Henderson is a YA horror book that follows a group of teen girls, and when one of them conjures up death himself, her life is spared, but the group must take on death's reapings themselves. The Valley of Vengeful Ghosts by Kim Fu is a literary horror book that follows a woman named Eleanor in the wake of her mother's passing. She buys a home, and when a torrential downpour hits, it reveals the fault in the home's integrity, and the isolation reveals ghosts of Eleanor's past and present, leading to a fever-dreamy descent. The Secret Lives of Murderers' Wives by Elizabeth Arnott follows a group of women whose husbands are convicted serial unalivers. When a new string of unalivings hits the news, the women decide that who's better to figure out who the unaliver is than women who are married to convicted unalivers. Strange Buildings by Uketsu is the sequel to Strange Houses, and it follows an author who is fascinated by the occult, who is given tips by his readers, and puts together a case file of 11 strange buildings. Strangers in the Villa by Robin Harding is a thriller book that follows a couple looking to rebuild their relationship, so they take a trip to Spain's Costa Brava and soon welcome in a pair of travelers who will not leave. The Only One Who Knows by Lisa M. Matlin is a thriller book that follows Minnow, who is a failed TV news reporter with a talent for shark fishing, who returns to her hometown as bodies begin washing ashore. On March 10th, we have 7 releases. The Shadow Carver by Nadine Matheson is the 4th book in the D.I. Angelica Henley series. Inspector Henley is on the case of finding a serial unaliver that scalps their victims. Whidbey by T. Kira Madden is a literary thriller that follows 3 women who are connected by a monstrous man in the aftermath of his death. This Story Might Save Your Life by Tiffany Crum follows Benny and Joy, who have a podcast called This Story Might Save Your Life, and it is a comedic survival podcast. When Joy and her husband Xander go missing, Benny uproots his life to get to the bottom of it. The Two Deaths of Lillian Carmichael by Paulette Kennedy will be available on Kindle Unlimited. In 1853, Lillian is set to be hanged for unaliving her sister, but on the long walk to the gallows, she has a catatonic episode and is presumed dead. She awakens days later, buried alive, and decides she is going to have a fresh start. Meanwhile, the city is being terrorized by a serial unaliver. How to Survive in the Woods by Kat Rosenfield follows Emma, who is stuck in a marriage with a controlling man, when she unexpectedly makes friends with her husband's ex, and the two come up with a plan to take Emma's life back, and so they set out to the last stretch of the Appalachian Trail because, well, bad things happen there all the time. You Should Have Been Nicer to My Mom by Vincent Torrado follows a family in the wake of the patriarch's passing. Poppy Ramone's will states that he made a deal with the devil and that someone in the family is that devil. And our main character, Zirmara, is the only one who takes it seriously and decides that she needs to figure out who the devil is and expel them. Served Him Right by Lisa Unger follows Anna, who decides to throw a celebratory brunch after she breaks up with her boyfriend Paul. But while at this brunch, they are informed that Paul's body has been discovered and he was unalived, and suspicion starts to fall on Anna when one of her best friends falls deathly ill after this brunch. We have 4 releases on March 17th. You Did Nothing Wrong by C.G. Drews follows a single mother named Elodie, who is the mother of an autistic boy named Jude. When Elodie is swept up into a whirlwind romance with a man named Brent, the family moves into a house which they begin renovating. But shortly thereafter, Jude starts to express that the walls have voices and that the house is being hurt by their renovations. Finley Donovan Crosses the Line is the 6th book in the Finley Donovan series, and it follows Finley Donovan as she tries to prove the innocence of her partner in crime and nanny Vero, who is accused of a theft that she's claiming she did not commit. Two Perfect Lies by Natalie D. Richards is a YA thriller that follows Clara, whose best friend Lily has just come up with a devious plan to get revenge on the people in their school. And the worst part of her plan? Blaming it all on Clara. Mother Is Watching by Karma Brown follows Tilly, who is an art conservator, who is hired to restore an old painting. She takes on the job and her world begins to descend into a nightmare. 6 releases on March 24th. Where the Truth Lies by Catherine Green follows childhood sweethearts Rhett and Lucinda, who seem to be the perfect couple, but then a newcomer arrives and sparks up an affair with Rhett. A storm of betrayal takes place and someone ends up dead. It's now years later, and an eyewitness comes forward, placing Rhett at the scene. Two Kinds of Stranger by Steve Kavanaugh is the 9th book in the Eddie Flynn series, and it follows Eddie Flynn as he defends a social media creator named Ellie, who was recently betrayed by her husband and has decided to turn things around by offering kindness to strangers. But a simple act of kindness sets off a chain of terrifying events, and now Ellie needs Eddie Flynn to convince the world that what happened to her was real. Wolfworm by T. Kingfisher follows Sonia, who is a scientific illustrator who gets offered a job in the North Carolina woods. She moves into the manor and soon realizes that something even more evil than the devil haunts the surrounding woods. Robbie McNeil's Hit List by Brianna Heath follows a contract killer named Robbie who is hired by a mysterious client who wants them to take out a hit on someone, but won't tell Robbie anything about this person, and then they vanish, and it seems like they never actually existed. Wretch by Eric LaRocca follows a recently widowed man who is riddled with grief and decides to join a support group called the Wretches, and there he is introduced to a figure that will grant him one last intimate moment with his husband for a price. Okay, I can't find my copy, but Dig by J.H. Markert follows the story of a place called Crow Island, and many years ago, a boy named Jericho committed a massacre on the island, and it has been shrouded in dark energy ever since. Jericho has been buried on his father's property for many years, and how his father is finally deciding to dig up and uncover long-buried secrets. And lastly, we have 4 releases on March 31st. Nothing Tastes as Good by Luke Dimas is a horror thriller that follows a man named Emmett who has always struggled with his weight, and he decides to join a medical weight loss trial. The weight starts falling off, but this miracle drug has some murderous side effects. What We Did to Survive by Megan Lally is a YA thriller that follows Hannah, who is on vacation in Mexico with her best friend's family. 4 of the teens decide to get on a boat and a deadly storm hits, turning their trip into a fight for survival. Sorry for Your Loss follows Iris and Jack, who have met at a grief group. They can't help but think that fate brought them together, but then it spirals into a game of cat and mouse, but who is the prey and who is the predator? Killing Me Softly by Sandy Jones follows a once happy couple named Freya and Charlie who were ripped apart by a tragedy, and so now they have turned on each other and they are both plotting to take the other one down. Thank you so much for watching. Now please leave me a comment and let me know if you read any of these titles early and if you enjoyed them, and if you didn't, let me know which March release you're most looking forward to reading.